lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and back with me, my awesome co-host Manny, back with another weekly pull. A lot of books
Yeah,
this week. It was insane.
it's
How
a
many
great
comics?
week, man. Like when I got to that register at the comic shop, I mean, I was stoked, but I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
like
I would have.
that's a
I probably like. I'm still lucky that I get my discount because like I was I saw the pile, and this is probably the biggest week that I've had in like weeks, dude. And then I was like handing people their pulls last night and like stacks like this fat because some people get like there's customers who that get like almost everything Marvel and DC sometimes, and like
yeah.
and indie stuff and variants. And it's like this was a crazy fucking week. A lot of good stuff, a lot of debuts, a lot of number ones that were really good, I thought, and even some like endings and some continuing stories. I'll let you lead off if you're down to if you want to start.
Yeah, sure. I guess I'm gonna start with what was my favorite book of the week and the one I was anticipating the most, and that was the 10th and final issue of David Peppo's run on Savage Avengers, bringing the excellent storyline, to a close, man. Little bittersweet because I would love to see him continue to write this team and this concept, but at the same time, he found a perfect way to end it and still leave you like with a hint of maybe like having more. So basically, if you haven't been reading it, this run found the team pulled into the 2099 universe, and they were fighting Ultron, who had taken over the 2099 world, using like an army of endless deathlocks, and the Savage Avengers had been being assisted by the by Jake Gallows, who's the Punisher from 2099, but he got killed in the last issue. And they also had a Deathlock on their team, who actually I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but the main Deathlock in this series is a Miles Morales from an alternate universe that eventually became Deathlock after probably
Yeah,
about when he was in his 30s.
that's from volume one, right? Because I think because I read that part.
Yeah, yeah, you don't find that out right away, but you do find out. So anyway, they make a last stand against Deathlock, and dude, it's great. I mean, like, it's obvious that this is what he's been building to, and if you love the 2099 world, you're gonna love this because, like, spoiler alert, if you haven't read it, they're not in it a lot, but he pulls some of the best 2099 characters for like that final battle. You got Spider-Man in there, you got Ravage, you got people from X-Men 2099, you got Ghost Rider 2099, you got Doctor Strange, the female Strange 2099, and like just seeing those characters all together, with the Electra Daredevil like yelling Avengers Assemble, and then the narration calling them the Avengers 2099. I was like, why didn't Marvel ever do Avengers 2099? Like, what the fuck, Marvel? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's such an obvious. And then you also find out in this issue who's been narrating the whole time, and it's the fucking Watcher. Like, it's such a fun read, and I highly recommend it. Now that the run is done, it's 10 issues, man. You can read it pretty much all in like a couple of sittings because it reads so fast. But it was great. I loved everything. He left everything wrapped up, and he even finds ways to advance some things that I hope stick. Like he finally makes Cloak and Dagger reveal like that they do love each other in a romantic way. You know what I mean? And they share a kiss, which I don't know if that's ever really been done. I don't know Cloak and Dagger too much, but they've always sort of hinted at that. But he found a way to sort of cement it, and make them almost a couple. And he brings the team back into the proper Marvel world at the end, but it ends on such a note because like they're all about to be like, all right, well, we all go our separate ways now, I guess. Like, it was fun, but we always had the time stream battle, and then Fing Fan Foom pumps out of the fucking like water and attacks New York City, and they're like, what the hell, one more time, let's go, and then it just ends. And I was like, fuck yes, dude. Like if he ever wants to pick that up, it's fine, but Fing Fang Foom, man, just popping out of the water
Yeah.
like Godzilla. Like, just he understands that this concept has to be fun and not taken very seriously. Although that doesn't mean that it's silly or dumb. It's just like he understands it's like it's a fun concept, and it's great, man. It's probably one of the best issues, and I just want to pull out. I shared it with you, and I shared it on social media, but I do
Yeah,
want to
pull out
share
that
my
panel,
favorite.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I got to pull up that panel because it is fantastic right there. You see all the, yeah. As soon as I saw Ravage, bro, I was like, yep. And it's funny because I interviewed him on New Comic Book Day Night Live, and we asked him, oh, how come you didn't put Ravage in there? And he was just kind of like, you know what I mean? And I was like, motherfucker, he fucking pulled a fast one. Great,
Yeah.
great. But yeah, man, loved it.
He is. He's an underrated writer, dude. I don't think enough
Yeah,
people
man.
like really know his stuff, but if you read his indie stuff, like I don't know, if you read Spencer and Locke by
Yes.
him, like that book is great. I loved all of the Spencer and Locke books, and like to see him like he's at Marvel and he's doing some stuff, and it's clear that like you can see that he has a love for the hit, like pulling out deep cuts, like with 29
Yes.
certain
Yeah, he's
characters,
definitely a Marvel zombie, like
but
he's
he doesn't come off as a fanboy when he's writing it. It's just like
no,
you feel the love, but it doesn't come off corny at all in terms of like what
no,
he's
it's
doing.
it's not corny, man, and he finds a way to like elevate these characters. Like, I mean, Weapon H, who's one of the main characters in this run, who I hadn't even really been aware of him, but he makes me like the character and I want to find out more about him. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting the roster he picked and made it work because like they're not the typical they're not even your typical B and C listers that you would expect. He's pulling, like you said, some deep cuts. He's got Cloak and Dagger, Anti Venom, the Black Knight, like pulling from all eras, which is basically what this concept should be. And it's a testament to him as a writer and the series as a whole that when they had to drop Conan, which was the hook of the entire every single iteration of Savage Avengers, it still works. Definitely recommend Savage Avengers number 10. The trade will probably be coming out that wraps up the second one. So if you're waiting, I think it's already even been announced. So like it should be out in the next coming months. But the single issues are probably still out there. So pick them up, man. So that's my pick.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to read the
My
second arc.
first
You,
pick.
you
Yeah.
put that panel, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna wait
Yeah.
for the trade.
I
And
had to share that panel with everybody as
luckily,
soon as
catch all of them up last night when I went to work, so I can't wait to read it. I will talk about Superman one. So this was the book I was anticipating the most. Joshua Williamson and Jamal Campbell. It's kind of a new era. We're entering like kind of like a new era, especially DC's doing the dawn of DC, but also like Superman is they're revamping it. I think the only real holdover would be Philip Kennedy Johnson staying on Action Comics, and then Tom Taylor's going to relaunch the John Kent book. But Joshua Williamson hasn't been writing Superman. He just got fresh off Dark Crisis. I know he's going to be writing Green Arrow during this era of Dawn of DC, and just in this issue, just encapsulates why Superman is so great. Such a great character. We get, the newsroom is back. His identity is back, and that happened like in I think it happened in either it was the end the tail end of like the last kind of iteration of what they were doing, right? Like before they did the Dawn of DC. So he's got his identity back, which means he can be back as a reporter, which I think is one of the most important parts of Clark Kent.
yes, man. I mean that's pop
And
culture.
then you have like stuff like this, like Jamal Campbell. I don't know if you know his stuff, if you've read Far Sector. He did the art on that. He did Naomi. I don't know if you've read those,
I
but
I I read a couple of issues of Far Sector, and I know what Naomi is, so I know who he is, and I've always found him to be a really good artist. But I never really read like
such a good.
none of his books are ever on my pull list. I wanted to add that Superman because I've been wanting to get back more into reading DC, and I thought maybe that would be a good starting
This
point. So
is such a good starting point. Let me just say that. It like for the
okay,
first page, it's so funny too, because like the first page you open and it's Martha Kent yelling at Clark, like dropping the middle name too. So when your middle name gets dropped by your parents, you're in
yeah.
fucking trouble. And he's like upstairs, like listening to music or something. And
What
it's
is
just
Clark's middle name? I don't know it.
yeah, Clark Joseph Kent.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So like he's sitting in the room and you see like there's a little panel with Mon Pa right there talking, and it's like she's like, oh, it's that Pete Ross is the bad influence on him, and Pa's like, no, he's a fine boy, and like and then like you can hear like like when they do like the certain word balloons where like it's Clark hearing it with his super hearing, like there's no
Yes,
actual
yeah.
line. Okay, so he's sitting up in the room, and then you see like I love this panel too, because like it's just him sitting in the room, right? And then like you see the glasses and he's about to jump out the window. And then it just opens to like this I don't know why,
Classic
but
logo.
I love that they do that, and it's like if you look really closely, you can see the silhouette of him flying,
Oh, nice.
right? And then it goes to this montage which I showed you, which is like just has
Yeah.
like panels of like the Jor-El and Lar-El and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like the origin being told, yeah.
Yeah, and then it comes back and he's fighting Livewire, which if you watch the Superman animated series, that's where she debuted, you know, and it's just the return of Clark, kind of like Lex is in prison, right? So we're dealing
Okay.
with all that, and they introduce a new chief of police who I mean he's not, I'm pretty sure he's not Chief Kakoa. So like they're kind of building the supporting cast, introducing some new people. I know he's got a new villain that he's gonna have, and this is this is what I really love. Lois Lane is the interim editor in chief at the Planet, you
That's
know,
awesome. That's a great idea.
and I love that. I don't know why I love this so much, but just Clark sitting there writing his own story because he's writing about Superman taking life, but he's got like headphones on to kind of like drown out some of the sound. And you know, like this is again teasing kind of like what is going on with the super family going forward. And you know, I don't want to get too much into it in terms of like spoiling anything else, but I do love, I mean, Lois dropping a great Caesar's ghost. I love that. I mean, just
Oh man, that's awesome.
look at this art, dude. I mean, he was like such a perfect match for Superman.
Yeah, he
And
really is.
what's funny too is like all of a sudden, like so Lex is in prison, right? And the Luther, I guess Luther Tower, right, is getting changed, and it turns into this fucking
Oh
super
wow.
tower, changing the name to Supercore, and basically Lex left it to him. I don't know. It's weird. Like I don't know, why are you leaving it to Superman? You know, and Mercy, you know, Mercy, his assistant,
Yeah,
Mercy
of
Graves.
course.
So she's like kind of like on Superman's side. Like so that mystery is kind of interesting. Like what's going to be moving forward. A whole team of people that are working and like Superman logo just everywhere. I don't know.
What a great idea, man.
It is. And Williamson is he's dude. He's the perfect like he's the perfect writer for this generation in terms of like I kind of think of him as like the spiritual successor to Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns a spiritual successor to Mark Waid, right? Like of honoring the past, bringing stuff in
Yeah, you've
fresh
mentioned
and
that
adding
before, yeah.
stuff. And I feel like Williamson just like knocks it out of the park. And
I mean, he's been almost like the architect of the DC universe for a couple of years in
he
this
has
series.
been
So
for a
yeah.
little while now. Yeah, so I like that. And then like a hologram Lex Luthor saying that he's there to help Superman. Just this issue is just full of so many cool little moments. Lex has got a cart, you know, like has something up his sleeve.
Of course,
We
yeah.
get Parasite like looking fucking like creepy as fuck, like a different
Yeah.
version of Parasite. Okay, I don't need to say the reveal, but obviously, and then these are what I always love too, like the coming soon, right?
I saw that posted on I think it was on Twitter, and I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
man, I love when they do that, like give you like snippets of like even if like different like what's gonna happen, like it's
So
great, man. It's a good way to hype you up for the storyline. Yeah,
if
you sold me, man. You keep selling me on books, and I
hold on,
keep adding them
and
to
then
my
listen,
books.
unless I'm gonna spoil this. So if this is probably one of the biggest spoilers because they have not talked about this. Do you want me to? Can I show you?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I don't
All
mind
right.
spoilers.
All
Sometimes
right.
they
All
make me
right.
want to read stuff
All
even
right.
more.
So the very last page. This is one of my favorite villains of Superman. We get Brainiac coming back, dude.
Oh, nice, dude.
And just like it's like glitchy and stuff. It looks like you're looking at it through a computer screen. And I love Brainiac. The fact that they never did of all the times they've had Superman on screen and they've never done Brainiac, I think it's such a disservice. Like when they brought Brandon Routh, you know, for that Superman movie and they had Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor, you should have done a different villain. We've seen Lex. Get Lex out of your fucking mind.
Or
I don't
pull
want
the
to see
fast
him.
one and made us think it's Lex, and then have Brainiac come. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
and then even Man of Steel, like I guess I get it with Zod, but like you didn't have to go that route. I hope to God that this new Superman movie that they're doing, I'm sure they're not going to do Brainiac right away. I already know that I won't get my hopes up. But Brainiac is such a good villain, and I cannot fucking wait to see what
yeah.
Williamson does with him. I can't wait to like. I love the newsroom, like I said, like it's got everything I love about Superman.
Yeah, the newsroom is a big part of it, man, and it should be a big part of
And
the
it's funny
book.
because like I was talking to Mark Wade yesterday a little bit, and I mentioned Superman, and he's like, "You're gonna love that first issue." And I talked to him before I was able to read it, and like he was right. This is probably one of the best Superman comics I've read in a while, and I'm so excited to see what he does. If you have not read Superman in a while, great jumping on point. I think any of the new ones done in DC, the Action Comics 1051, I think was the first one there. Then they got a John Kemp book, but if there's one Superman book you pick up, this is the one to pick up.
My second pick is the final issue of Pink Lemonade by Nick Cagnetti.
Yeah,
Pink Lemonade is a title he'd been published through different publishers and even self-published. He did a Kickstarter crossover with
Jamie Jones,
Jamie Jones is the baboon,
that was
So like
dope.
Pink, yeah, I have that too. I've always loved the concept of Pink Lemonade. It's very Madman, It's like a fun sort of throwbacky, like innocent superhero concept that is all ages in the way that I love that it can really be picked up by a kid or by an adult, and it's gonna be a great read no matter what, because like it's not like a dumb cartoon or dumbed down in any way. It's just perfect for just about anybody. And I'm so happy that he had been able to go through Oni Press, because it's a bigger publisher, so it got his book out there.
Mhm.
And great wrap up to the series, man. Like the storyline in this had been that Pink Lemonade was trying to make. They were trying to. She's sort of like just a freewheeling, like fun loving, adventurous, like superhero. She's got her crew of like misfit like characters, and they were making a documentary about her. And then this evil like media conglomerate was trying to steal the idea, and it all kind of culminates in this issue with like a concert being performed by a DJ, and it's just like it's a lot of fun, man. And he still finds ways to sneak in like these little cool jabs at modern culture. Like there's a fun joke about NFTs, but it's not bogged down by that. Like it's not about that. The book is still about like embracing the medium of comics and like using it to just create this story that pops and flows and moves. And I just love it, man. I think we need more books like Pink Lemonade out on the stands, because they're not bogged down by continuity. They're fun concepts that you can almost pick up an issue and enjoy it. And if you're not like a diehard comic book fan, this is very easily accessible, because it's just so pretty to look at and so fun to read, that it almost has a feel, I think, like what old school comics were, where you could just sort of pick up an issue and enjoy a story with some fun characters. And he's very good about like letting you know who each character is. Like when they talk to each other, they use their names a lot. So like you don't get like, who is this guy? No, you read the page and someone will call him by name. Like he's clever like that. It's great, man. I hope that it's not the end of Pink Lemonade. I'm sure it's not, because he there's an afterword where he talks about, I think he is taking a break from the character, but he says he's also not done with telling stories about her. And so yeah, man, Pink Lemonade is great. And I just want to say, like, I follow Nick Cagnetti on Twitter and Instagram, and he's always posting these awesome drawings of Spider-Man. Marvel, give this guy a Spider-Man miniseries.
Yes,
Like
dude.
he's
He does the, what are they called? Not the thumbnails. Whatever. He does Spider-Man art for my friend Dan Gavosdin, who has that amazing Spider Talk podcast.
Oh yes, yes.
Okay, so like I met Dan at the comic shop I work at, because that's his regular store, and we became friends, and he told me about his Spider-Man podcast, and I'm like, and then I realized that Nick Cagnetti, I was like, dude, how did you get him? Because he evokes like that like joy of Silver Age in his
Yes,
art, like
yes.
he has that, and his coloring, it's
Oh, dude,
like it's
his coloring
insane,
is
dude.
next
It just
level, man.
pops, dude. It's like pop
Yeah,
art. That's what it feels like.
it is. That's a good. Yeah, yeah. I was at a loss for words, and he pulls from all eras of comics too. Because one of my favorite characters in Pink Lemonade is Ron Radical, who's sort of like a very like loving riff on like '90s extreme characters, and
Yeah.
but like again, like he finds a way to like poke fun at the character in a way, but still like make you love. And it's clear that he just loves comics, and he finds a way to sort of playfully like jab at the medium while still having a lot of love. It's the only way that someone that can make fun of something because they love it, and like that's what I get from him. but again, that's not what the comic is all about either. You know, it's still like a fun story, and it has a message, man. Like, you know, it ends with like sort of embracing who you are, the good and the bad, and understanding that, like, you know, change is hard, and that when you change is a continuous process. Like, all these things are in there. So like, it's not like you're just reading something vapid and just colorful and eye popping for the sake. You know, it's he's putting a lot of thought and executing it very, very well, and I can't recommend it enough. So if you're looking for something different, and you love Madman, you like the work of Mike Allred, you love the Silver Age, give Pink Lemonade a chance, because you will love it. And I'm sure that Oni will be releasing a trade of these 6 issues in the coming months, so you can probably find that somewhere at your local comic shop.
I'll talk about Blue Book next. This book, I recently talked to the artist Mike Gavin Oming. James Tynion is the writer of this book. So this book debuted on Substack, on his subs on Tynion's Substack. I wasn't about to subscribe to a bunch of Substacks when they did that, so I always just wait for print. You know, like that's kind of the format I like to read in. I get that this stuff is colored digitally, so sometimes it does look better on the screen, you know, than it does in paper. But I love UFOs. I love conspiracy theories. So this book was like right up my alley. And I didn't get a chance to read it before we talked, but man, did he sell me on the book when we were talking about it. You know, like him just describing it, and like these are based on actual events of UFO encounters or like experiences that people shared. And, you know, just from like the cover, you know, it evokes like the Parker books by Darwin Cook, how it's just like the one color, black and white, because the entire book is like that. It's all in blue.
Nice. Yeah.
It's just a beautiful book. And you know, it talks about so I'll just read this. I'm going to read the little snippet because it describes like the event that they're talking about. So it was Tuesday, September 9th, 1961, when Betty and Barney Hill began a long drive home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire from their modest holiday in Montreal. The couple had heard that a hurricane was making its way up the coast, and having already exceeded their budget for the vacation, they determined it was in their best interest to make the drive home overnight. And that's when they encounter what they describe as a UFO. A lot of it kind of feels like reporting, right? Like there is dialogue between them, but it is very like almost like journalism in terms of like the way the story is being presented. I mean, I think Oming is like killing it on the art on this book.
He's always been a great artist.
Always been a great artist, but I really love what he's bringing to the table here. I'm telling you, like the blue, it's just such a brilliant idea. I love stuff like this, like, and that's what I really love about the Parker books. And I think he does this in such a way that it really helps the mood and the tone, it being in all blue, you know. And this panel too, like when he gets out of the car and they're experiencing the UFO.
Yeah, that looks awesome. I'm a huge like Close Encounters of the Third Kind fan, and like I'm getting those kind of vibes too, like that.
Yeah, just
that
and like just strictly letting the art tell the story, like the close up and stuff, and then the silhouettes of the aliens. Like I can't even describe to you how much fun I had. Just like,
I love that kind of psychedelic background behind the aliens.
Yeah, too. And then look, and then the red, and that just tells you, like, for me, like when you read it, it's like, holy shit, danger is about to fucking take place. Something's about to go down. And then it ends on this, him running, they're gonna capture us. So I think that if you like UFOs, and I really love either film, TV, or comic books, all media that I love when it's based on actual events, because it just has that added kind of like, oh shit, this did this or didn't this happen? Because obviously sometimes when stuff gets adapted into film or television or comics, you're gonna take some liberties, right? Because you have
because you want to build a more cohesive narrative,
and you want to make it engaging, because sometimes the true story is not engaging the entire time, right? There is could be some boring parts or some stuff that's not as engaging, and you have to kind of cut that and make it like a story, right? But I think with just this first issue, I'm ready for more. I can't wait to see what else they have in store for us. And then you also have a backup story. It's called True Weird Presents, and it's going to be different stories each time. This is by Klaus Janson, does the art.
Oh shit, bro!
And this is all black and white. I won't get too
another
much
book to add to my pull list.
Sorry. I mean,
Yeah, you're good, bro.
yeah, I feel like you kind of or have been adding stuff to my pile, and I feel like I've been doing the same thing. So I like this like it's describing encounters with like weird things of people's accounts. And I love that stuff. That stuff fascinates me. I remember when I
Yeah.
was like in high school, constantly looking up stories like this, like UFO encounters or conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I love all that stuff too.
And then I think I found a website where like I was really digging deep, and then I like got paranoid. I'm like, can the government like can they
Yeah,
see
yeah.
what
Am I
I'm
getting flagged over
yeah, I
here,
was
you know?
like, it's like, is this too crazy? Like, because it was like government conspiracy. So I was like, maybe I should like take a step back. I'm gonna like
He
not look at this
he must
anymore.
be a huge fan because he also writes Department of Truth, which is another book that's all about
He's somebody,
conspiracy.
yeah, he's somebody I
And
really
you can
wish,
tell it's well researched too. So he's a writer that really does a lot of research too. Like it.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think and like look, I think I hope I'm not saying this out of turn, but like I think Scott Snyder is a mentor of his, and Scott Snyder is like huge into like building history and going with historical facts in a lot of his stories. And he kind of goes the same route. James Tynion is doing that with this. He's doing that with, like you said, Department of Truth. And I would love to pick his brain. Like he's somebody I would love to have on the channel and kind of like dig deeper in.
Yeah,
But
same.
even
Especially
just
since I've been reading Department of Truth. I'm on the second volume now, and like I'd love to talk to him. Yeah.
yeah, and but just like talking to Oming and like talking about like UFO encounters and like where the series is going to continue, because they do have ideas for more. There is like this mini series, this 5 issue run is only talking about this couple. And and the fact that they were an interracial couple back in the 60s. That was not commonplace, not like it is now. So
Yeah.
that in turn is like also going to play a factor in terms of like people believing them, right?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that if you haven't heard about the book, if you were kind of on the fence, not knowing about it, I think this is good whether you like UFO stories or not. It's a beautiful book. It's well written, and go pick it up because you will not be disappointed.
You sold me, man. Again. So it looks like I might be making a trip to the shop later on again today. You know.
I know. I was thinking the same thing earlier.
All right. I guess my last book's gonna be the latest issue of Amazing Spider-Man. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 20, and it's the second issue of the Joe Kelly and Terry and Rachel Dodson fill-in arc, the little two mini arcs that completes the story where Peter and the Black Cat they try to have a romantic getaway, and like all things Parker and Parker Luck, it doesn't go the way he planned, and gets invaded by a bunch of tech bros who are using stolen Sinister Six technology to sort of have a bunch of fun cosplay. I mean, that's kind of glossing over the storyline. There's a little bit more than that, but that's the setup. I loved it, man. I realized when I read this that I do miss Joe Kelly writing comics. Like he was such a force, such a big part of what made Deadpool what he is today.
Yep.
And also Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson, great artistic pair. And it's a great story, man. It does what I think every fill-in story should do. Like when you want to give the regular team a break, is that you give someone something a little different, but you still find ways to sort of bring in things from their arc to make it feel cohesive. So a big part of what's been going on in Spider-Man recently has been like, what the hell, what the fuck happened between Peter and Mary Jane, you know? And there's a scene in this comic where Black Cat and Peter, or Felicia and Peter, talk about that and about his feelings for Mary Jane. And I've seen the panel being shared around on Instagram, and some people are going to be a little bit taken aback by it because I mean, spoiler alert, again, Peter's telling Felicia that he's basically saying, "Look, I've always loved Mary Jane, but I'm not sure if that love is changing, and he's not sure what kind of love it is anymore." So that can be seen as a bit controversial because it's like, is he falling out of love with her? Is it transitioning to more of like I just love this person on a different level because they've always been in my life, they've been through so much together? We don't know where it's going. But the way I'm seeing it is that way, is that we don't know where it's going, which is a great little tidbit because that's been the sort of the feel of the storyline is like there's so much mystery about what happened to Peter 6 months ago. Why is he working with Norman Osborn? Why is he not with Mary Jane? And why is Mary Jane with another man and almost starting a family with him? And you're starting to see little hints of it here. And I think this is the first time Peter sort of addressed his feelings for Mary Jane in this current arc. And I thought it was done well. And I thought it was cool that they did it in this arc, because that way this arc does not just feel like a throwaway, like something that won't
Yeah.
fit in when the entire larger arc has been done. It definitely progresses the storyline. It definitely makes the relationship between Felicia and Peter a little stronger. It fleshes out Felicia Hardy. It fleshes out Peter's current situation. And again, it's also a lot of fun. Joe Kelly is great at bringing in the jokes and making humor a big part of his story. And there's a lot of laugh out loud moments. And he's a writer, I think, that really writes a great Peter Parker. Like, I love my Peter when he's, throwing out the quips and the corny jokes, and Joe Kelly excels at that.
Yeah.
And he really brings that in. And it's beautifully drawn. I mean, the Dodsons create like very, very beautiful artwork, man. And like they know how to like they are to me, like I think they might be my favorite people to draw the Black Cat. Like they make
Same.
Felicia just amazing looking.
Yeah.
And they've drawn that character many times over many different series, and I don't think that that's by accident. They clearly have a love for the character, and I love Felicia Hardy, and it's always a welcome to see her being brought back into the Parker stories, into the Spider-Man stories. So again, great little 2-issue arc. Glad it was there. I'm excited to get back to the Zeb Wells and Romita Jr. and see what's going on there. But by all means, this is not a throwaway pause. This is something that is great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed this arc too. I love Joe Kelly. I mean, going back to obviously his Deadpool. I mean, I think that was some of my first Deadpool comics. Like
Yeah.
I got those original miniseries, and then I got that first issue Deadpool with Ed McGuinness on art, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. And I
I mean, I
love
think
that
even
run.
Liefeld has on his podcast has said several times how important Joe Kelly was to Deadpool.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely breaking the fourth wall. That was Joe
Yeah.
Kelly that started that stuff, and like
Yeah.
he even like wrote some great Superman stuff in the early 2000s. I think you and I maybe have mentioned like
Didn't he
possibly,
write what's so good about truth, justice, and the American,
yeah,
like that very
with
famous storyline,
Manchester
like
Black.
with
Yeah, like
Manchester Black and all that? Yeah,
that's a great one of the best single issue Superman stories ever done, and
yeah.
yeah, I think like I feel like he was a part of like because I think we talked about doing like an Our Worlds at War episode
He
possibly.
was a part, yeah, because that was during that period. Yeah,
Yeah, so like he's just such a great writer, and I definitely miss seeing his work more. I know he's got an image book out. I can't remember the name for the life of
I think
me.
it's Immortal Sergeant. It's
Mortal
like a
Sergeant.
cop
Yeah,
thing.
you're
Yeah,
right.
I've been wanting to pick it up because it looks good, and then the art is really cool too. So
Yeah, yeah. But he's just such a great writer, dude. And like certain characters are really like, or certain writers just like know characters, and like it's almost like they're meant to write them. He's meant to write Spider-Man. Deadpool maybe wasn't necessarily say he was meant to write Deadpool, but he made it so now that is kind of his character to write a little bit, like
yeah.
he can always write Deadpool and it will always be funny, like because he just gets the character. And
But he writes Peter Parker very well, man. Like
very well.
this to me, the Parker in these 2 issues has been like the classic Peter that I love. Like like down on his luck, a a bit thick headed sometimes. Like we've talked about it. Like what makes Peter great is that like he's sometimes a bit of an asshole and that he can be a little bit selfish sometimes. Because like he gets so wrapped up in his head that he doesn't really sort of see other people sometimes. And like it's great. It makes him like so relatable as a character, and Joe
Yeah.
Kelly gets that. Like he makes Peter seem very real, very very fallible, like very identifiable. He's great. He's one of the best. I think he's probably up there as far as Spider-Man writers go. And I'd love
Yeah,
to see him
agreed.
do more Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he gets to do a couple, maybe he can like cycle in, like for a couple 2-issue story arcs. That'd be awesome. But I'm excited to see where Spider-Man's going, because like I know we're gonna find out the whole deal with like Mary Jane. And I'm fine with them not being together. I just didn't like how
So am I, man.
I just don't like how they ended them. That was my issue. Like I get you wanted to get rid of the marriage, but I didn't like the way with which they got rid of the marriage. That was my
Yeah,
issue.
I agree.
Like you could have separated them in a way that didn't feel like so forced. You know what I mean? Like you did it just to do it. But I'm excited to see kind of where that is. I know there's some like I forgot what issue number it is, but it's the one with all the characters' heads on the cover, like on the screens, or and like there was like comments, rumors, like is Gwen Stacy coming back? Which I hope to God they don't do that, because I think that just really that's a death that needs
Yeah.
to stay. But
Yes.
whatever. I do agree though. This whole Spider-Man run has been great, and I too, I'll second that. I highly recommend picking it up. So my last book is a book I was also very excited to check out, looking forward to. Local Man from Image Comics, by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleece.
Okay.
And what's great about this book is I wouldn't say it's a love letter necessarily to the 90s comics, but they definitely are about that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's they talk about it in the afterword. I guess I'll read a little. I'll read a little bit from that just to kind of give you. I mean, look at this, dude. You know, like what is that?
Oh, dude.
That's the 90s.
That's straight out of Spawn 8, bro, with
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Billy Kincaid
So,
and the chains, you know?
Tim Seeley kind of gives a little bit of a background, talking about that he's been loving Image since day one, following Wizard Magazine, Comic Shop News, Youngblood, riding his. I think he talks about riding his bike at 15.3 miles from his house, just to get the comics, and teaming up with Tony Fleece of Stray Dogs. Everybody knows him from that. He's been killing it with that. He did a book called Time Shopper with Christian Misi, who we're both huge fans of.
Yeah.
And I just love that it's about a character called Jack Xavier. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And he used to be a superhero called Crossjack. So the flip book is back then. This is him down on his luck, right? And it opens up with
Also,
him.
it's telling like in different time periods.
Right. So it opens up with him sitting at a bus stop, and he is waiting for a bus that's not coming. And then he realizes it, and a truck comes by and asks him, like, "Are you Crossjack?" Then speeds away. So then he's trying to get basically like an Uber, right? But they call it driver. And he's like, and so the guy from the truck yells back, he's like, "Oh, Jack Xavier, did you call for a driver?" And then he starts laughing, and then or Jack is like, "Oh, it's cool, just keep driving so I can get another driver." And as the truck driver is driving away, he just flips him off. He's like, "Fuck Cross Jack." And you're just like wondering, like what the fuck happened with this guy? And so it's throughout this story, like you don't find out what he did. He did something wrong. He goes to his parents' house, and even them, they're like, why did you fuck this up? Why did you do what you did? And you don't you get hints of it. Like what I could only assume was maybe he messed with her on the team that he was a part of, and she was with him, because you do learn about them in the back part of the book. So Tony Fleece does the art in this. Tim Seeley does the writing and art in the back. He's back in his it's a very small rural town where he's from, and he's in the bar, and one of his old arch enemies, which is just such a goofy looking costume, and his name's Hodag, and he comes after him, and Crossjack's like, "Jack's back," and he takes a fucking trash can lid, and they proceed to fight. And after this, while he's in the bar, he meets somebody from his past. They're sitting in the diner that she owns, and they're talking a little bit, and another funny little joke between them, he's like, "Oh, you've always made good food or whatever," and she calls it the morning quickie, and she's like, "That's not the only morning quickie that you liked," so there's that banter. So obviously they had a relationship, but as he comes out of this diner, his old team comes back, and he gets in trouble for fighting the guy, because he's per his, what is it? I guess the contract that when he left, he's not allowed to fight. He's not allowed to wear the costume. He's not allowed to use a shield. He's like, "I didn't use a shield. I used a trash can lid." And then they start reading off the stuff that he's not allowed to use, or not
That's
allowed to do.
interesting.
So he can't fight crime. He can't do anything. And then the mystery of it all, the villain that came back is he gets taken to jail. He's sitting in jail. So, but he was trying to say something to Crossjack. It wasn't just him trying to fight. He was trying to give him a message. And that's where the mystery of the book is. What was he trying to tell him? What's going forward? And he's being spied on. too. Like there's a little
Ooh.
drone at the end, right? Like that's spying on him that was like in the grass as he's walking back home. The thing that really grabbed me, Billy Kincaid. You remember him from Spawn.
Yes, of course. Yeah, dude. I mean that's
So
a direct homage, you know.
direct homage to that, and I mean, I guess I should have said spoiler alert because the villain gets killed, and so he never get to find out like what was he trying to tell Crosscheck, and then in the back, which is full on fucking 90s fucking image, you know, just like, oh sorry,
That's awesome, dude.
you know, and all the different characters, the different names, you know, and finding out what, you know, like you have Cutting Edge is what this is
That's
Cutting Edge,
perfect, man. Yeah.
this is Soft Core,
Oh my god, that's so.
Air Raider, Big Island, you know, like just it's
That's
just like
just perfect.
the descriptions of them. You got Neon right here, you have Camo Crusader down here,
That's awesome.
and then you have the Desolators that they're fighting, and Painkiller, Fright Side, the Hodag, Merciless, and Superior. So it's like everything they loved about the 90s comics, they're putting into this, but also you're in the modern day. So I love that. So you get the flashbacks in the flip book, and obviously that was a thing that, I mean, Liefeld was doing back then. I think some of the other Image books might have been doing it. I don't feel like it was mostly Liefeld that did that with his Extreme books, you know, like the flip book of Brigade, the flip book of Youngblood 2.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, if you liked
I miss flip books, man. I love them.
So if you like early Image, this is a book for you. Even if you don't like early Image, I think it definitely stands on its own, you know, in terms of like what they're doing. It's definitely a good setup to see the superhero that can't fight crime anymore. You don't know why. He did something obviously douchey, I'm assuming, because of that fucking smirk in that one panel. And then like, who's following him? Who's watching him? Like, what could he have done so bad that he can't, that like he had to sign something saying that he won't even fight crime?
Yeah,
I've never heard that story before, so I'm very excited.
That's a cool concept. Like about you know we've seen a lot of stories about like heroes that have been kicked out of teams and like are dealing with that years later. But I've never seen that angle where like you know there was like a contract involved and he's like legally bound to do or not do certain things. That's a cool setup.
Yeah, and just like the letter, like not the letters page, but you know, the editorial looking like it was from early Image. This page,
I was gonna ask you, yeah, like the old,
you know,
yeah.
So I really wish they would have done dedicated too, because you know how like the early Image is all dedicated.
Yeah. Every issue of Spawn was dedicated to somebody else. Yeah.
So I thought that would have been cool if they did, but either way, like it's a total love letter to early Image, and it doesn't feel like, you know, we talked about like something being corny or not. Like it's not. It's a fun book. Both stories are good. You know, like, and I feel like that's going to be like where they're kind of leading you up to like what he did. So like that the main story can kind of go on its own. Like you're not, I feel like that's where we're going to find the backstory. And I just can't recommend it enough. Tony Fleece is like such a great creator, such a great guy. And so many of the stuff like Stray Dogs, I said, Time Shopper, really good. I know he's
I love Stray Dogs. That was a good one.
Yeah, great book. So go pick it up, but you won't be disappointed. And that's all I think that's all we got this week. Today, right?
I just want to, you know, shout out. We're gonna probably we are gonna do a video on it, but
yeah,
Hulk Grand Design came out this week, and like, I mean, I just wanted to mention it because I can't get enough of this book. I've been looking at it since yesterday, and I have the day off and I have a doctor's appointment later, and I might just take this with me so I can look at it while I'm waiting. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great, man. So
I mean, that would probably be my ultimate pick of the week. But
but it's good. It's amazing that it needs its own like dedicated episode.
It needs its own dedicated episode, and we have to like do one where we're like got the camera overhead, man, like flipping through so that we can kind of share everything.
Yeah. I want to get that set up on my end over here too, because if we're gonna do it for any book for the first time, it needs to be this one because this is a book that you need to look at. That's why we don't want to really mention it in just a weekly picks, because although it is my number one pick, probably it's more than that because it's not a weekly book. You know, this is something that's going to look amazing on your shelf. So if you're out at the comic shop, definitely pick up all the books we talked about, but pick up Hulk Grand Design too.
Yeah, I second that, dude, and I can't wait to see what comes out next week. I know there's some good stuff coming out, and I'll be excited.
It's been such a great year so far, man. You know, like Like every week. I mean, going to the comic shop is always a highlight for me, you know. But now I get like that jazz feeling as I walk in the door, where like it just makes my day better going there, you know. Like even if I have to work afterward and I have like a 12-hour shift or whatever afterward, just walking in there and knowing that like at the very least I'm gonna have 2 or 3 books a week that I'm gonna read and love. It's great, man. People who
Yeah.
are complaining about not having good comics now, you're just being haters because there's tons of good comics from all sorts of sources and they're coming out every fucking week, man. So
Yeah.
it's a great time to be reading comics and a great time to have a pull list.
I agree. Yeah, go support your local comic shop and
I
make
was
sure
gonna
you're
say that, man. Yes, if you love comics, get into the habit of having a pull list. It's a lot easier for you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about things selling out, and it keeps your comic shop open.
yeah, I second
Helps
that,
them.
dude. I mean, and it keeps me employed over there so I can keep talking comics with people, you know? I mean, I think look, comic book shops are the lifeblood of this industry, man. Like you can get recommendations from Amazon, but it's not the same, dude. It's like you when you go into a
Mm.
shop, you're getting an experience, you're getting people. I mean, for the most part, I know there's some shops that maybe don't have the best customer service, but I know like for me, like that's why I love working there, is because I love
Yeah,
turning people on to new stuff. That's why I started a YouTube channel. That's why I started my website, all that stuff, right? So that I
yeah,
could
same.
spread, the gospel of comics, dude, the love of comics. And comic shops now more than ever, they need your support because so many people are going to like Amazon and stuff. And but you can't replicate what you get in a shop
No,
online.
and
It's
with
not the
all the
same.
insanity going over on Comixology, which was honestly, Comixology was a great source for comics, but the future of that is very uncertain. We don't know where Amazon is taking and what direction that is going for. So like if you want comics to stay vital, man, just go to your LCS and get a pull list. Even if you just subscribe to 1 or 2 books.
Yeah,
Comics, I get it, they're expensive and I feel it, you know what I mean? But I'm willing to support the hobby because it makes me happy. But
same.
even if you just buy 1 or 2 books there's enough great comics out there that you will definitely find at least one fucking book a month that you love.
Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee that. I'll bet my fucking apartment on it, you know? So go read comics, guys. It's a great time to be reading comics. The industry and the medium is alive and well and flourishing.
Yeah. And after you're supporting your local comic shop, make sure you support Manny and I and follow us
Yeah.
on our social media. All Manny's links are down below. Comic Lounge links are down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're notified every time we drop a new vid. And on that note, we're out.
See you next week, guys.